This is Amateur Survival. I'm Darin Cardin. I'm a novice survivalist going on a 2-night simulated survival trip. Today I'm in Freetown State Forest in Freetown, Massachusetts. I'll be testing out survival techniques I've seen on TV and the internet. I'm going to put these techniques to the test and see if a normal person with no experience can use them effectively. The plan right now is to head west to the water. I was here about half a decade ago, and I made a little camp out here next to the water. Now, I'm not really sure where it is. I'm going to try to find it. I got a little shelter built. It's probably all knocked down by this point, but I'm hoping I have something to work with at least. Freetown State Forest is roughly 8 square miles and sits within both Freetown and Fall River. For this trip, I'll be spending 2 nights on the eastern edge of the Wataupa Pond. Freetown State Forest has had some negative publicity due mainly to satanic rituals that allegedly occurred in the 1980s. Some feel that the forest is haunted. I'm hoping to find a campsite that I set up about 5 years ago. I'm not expecting much to be left, but at least it'll give me something to work with. Alright baby, we made it. We're at the river and it wasn't hard at all to get here. I really don't have much gear. I'll tell you what, let me show you what the gear is. So, first off, I've got a sleeping bag. I got a tin can that's going to be for, boiling water. I got a knife, and I got a gallon of water. I have no food, and I have no way to make a fire. So, I mean, if I want a fire, it's going to have to be with sticks. It looks like it's about, 2:30 right now. So, I got a couple hours left. I mean, usually it's going to be 6:30 before it starts getting dark, and by that time it's hard to make a fire in the dark. So I got a little time. I want to find the old campsite first, and for some reason I think it's pretty close to here. Okay, my best guess is that the campsite was right here. Now I was hoping I built a shelter here too, and I was hoping that the shelter would still be here too, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I'm not surprised though, because it was half a decade since I've been here. Now that I've got a camp location chosen, I'm gonna search for some food. I've been seeing acorn shells all over the place. This is a good sign because acorns are edible. Unfortunately, as it gets later in the season, the acorns start to disappear. I'm seeing lots of shells, but I need to find the acorn nuts. I'm not having any luck right now. I'll try again tomorrow. Alright, so the sun is starting to set right about now. I'm not going to make a fire tonight. I don't know, I just don't have the energy. So, that's fine. We'll do it tomorrow. Okay, so that's about it for the sun. I know the past couple nights has gotten down to freezing. I don't know, I feel like this should be more than enough though. I don't think I'll have a problem. There's something big out there. I don't know what it is, but I can hear it. It's not like a squirrel. That's for sure. I'm gonna try to scare it off, dude, because it sounds pretty big. There's something. Oh yeah, dude, there's something out there. See, the one that I don't want to fire, it's kind of creepy. It's right out there by the water. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's big, whatever it is. Dude, there's gotta be a fire tomorrow. I mean, logically, it's got to be a deer. But honestly, dude, your mind plays tricks on you when you're just out in the middle of the forest by yourself. And you hear noises, but you can't see what it is. Okay, so we're working on the fire right now. So this is going to be the baseboard. So what's going to happen is you've got a spindle, and you see this little notch right here, this little kind of hole. It's going to go in here, and it's going to spin back and forth, and that's what's going to give it the friction that it needs to make this hot ash. And the hot ash is then going to turn into the fire. Also, notice that there's like a triangular cut in this side. So what happens is you have the spindle in there, and there's that little hole right there. And what happens when this thing spins, hot ash is created, and it falls into this little hole right here, and it builds up there. So eventually you get enough hot ash, and that's what makes the fire. This hole is just a way to collect that hot ash. Otherwise, it's just, you know, builds up on the side of the wood, and it doesn't really do anything. So I'm getting ready to go. I've done a little practice run, and I could get smoke from it. So we'll see.
Making fire with sticks is tough. There's no way around it. The discovery of friction fire was a major turning point in human history and dates back at least 100,000 years.
You got the spindle that goes in here. It goes into the baseboard, and you have this thing. I don't even know what the heck this is called, but you put it on the top.
In essence, you're trying to get the temperature of the wood to 800 degrees Fahrenheit. If you can generate this temperature and at the same time generate enough dust, you can create an ember. I'm using the firebow method because it's the easiest technique. Wood type can play a critical role in your success. Wood that's too hard will not generate enough dust. I've found that pine is the best wood to go with.
You see smoke, and then you start going faster for about 30 seconds. What's it gonna be? It's gonna be nothing. No? No? Yep. Alright. You don't got much time to do this. That's great, dude. You just threw it on the ground.
When you get an ember, you're halfway
Still
there.
smoking.
You have to transfer this ember to some type of combustible material. In this case, I'm using dried leaves, but there are better options available. Bark off a birch or cedar tree tends to work very well.
Fire. There you go. Gotta get ahead. Gotta move it fast.
I'm gonna look for some acorns again. During the fall, acorns are one of the best food sources available. An ounce of acorns contains about 100 calories and 2 grams of protein. For survival food, that's pretty good.
Yeah, here we go. Acorns. Now you can eat these. You can't eat them raw, but if you crush them up and boil them, you can. Actually, there's a couple over here.
Acorns grow only on oak trees, a tree that's very common in the Northeast. They fall from September to November. Once you get to November, they tend to become a little harder to find, but a little hunting will usually turn some up.
Yeah, I got some food. Good. There's another one. All right. Okay, so all I'm doing now is I'm kind of chopping these things up. and I'm throwing them in the pot. So the can's on here right now, but the question is, how do I get it off? I mean, I can't touch it. It's boiling hot. What I can do is just take a branch off a tree, one that has like a fork in it, and then you just go over the can like this, and you, be slow with it. Pinch it between the two branches, and then there you go. When you're boiling,
Acorns contain a chemical called tannin that is not edible unless prepared.
Empty the water out a couple times.
Soaking or boiling the acorns will remove this chemical. Since boiling is quicker, I'll be using this method.
So we want to empty that out.
All you do is chop the acorns up and boil them for several minutes. After that, replace the water and repeat. When the water stops changing to brown, they're ready to eat. Usually 3 boils will be enough.
And you empty the water out 2 or 3 times until the water stops turning brown, and then you know you're good. Okay, so it's time to check out the meal. This is the first thing I
Acorns have kind of a bland, peanutty taste. They're really not too bad.
Glad to get anything.
Pine trees are common throughout the U.S. I remember seeing a survival show where the host makes tea by boiling pine needles. I'm gonna try it out.
I'm gonna boil some pine needles. I've never tried this before.
Pine needle tea is very high in vitamin C. From my research, it contains about 5 times the vitamin C as an orange. There are tales of Native Americans giving this tea to the early settlers to cure the scurvy that they acquired from the long sea voyage. It also functions as a primitive cough syrup.
Alright, we're gonna throw that on the fire. I don't know if we need all that. Let's take some out. Okay, so the pine needle drink is cooled. And give it a shot. Tastes like water with pine needles. Okay, so as you can see, the sun is starting to set right now. My bed right here, you can see that I put leaves all under it, so try to make things a little more comfortable. And really, that's about it. It should be, it's going to be better than yesterday, that's for sure, just because I got some heat now. It was really cold yesterday. The fire went out. Well, it's not out yet, but it's just smoldering. It was pretty cold last night. Dude, it is freezing cold. Not being in the sleeping bag. Oh my god, dude, my feet are straight numb. I'm gonna try to warm them up the best I can. Okay, we're out of here.
I was surprised at how much food was available. I could see how acorns could make a big difference in a survival situation. The fact that they're so easy to identify and harvest makes them one of my favorite sources of food. The fire bow technique works very well for getting a fire, but it's difficult to learn. Even though I'm a novice in terms of survival, I've spent several months practicing this technique. It's not the kind of thing you can pick up in a couple hours.
It's almost like this is a trail right here. Huh. This is a trail.
The pine needle drink wasn't overly tasty, but if you're suffering from lack of fruit, it's a readily available source of vitamin C. The The only real question I have is how I would have fared without a sleeping bag. Obviously, you may not have one in a real survival situation. It went below freezing both nights I was out here.
We've reached the road. Alright, so that's the end.